Cumberland County Commissioners Finance meeting on June 15th at 1:30 p.m. Welcome everybody. I'm going to open the floor and see if there's any public comment. And now it is my distinct pleasure to present to you an effort that's been in the making for quite some time. We all know that that our staff puts a lot of effort into making our nursing home one of the safest and most pleasant place for people to spend time in. But it turns out, not as a surprise, that there are many people in the community that feel that the nursing home is doing a good job and is worthy of support. Okay. So sort of the backdrop to this is, and I want to still end with my little presentation, is that nursing home has been a topic of conversation and discussion in terms of the county's efforts to maintain its overall fiscal stability, as well as the fiscal stability of the nursing home, so that it will continue to provide the services that it is tasked with doing. We had looked at many different things coming out of the PFM discussion. The commissioners made a commitment by borrowing money to finance a new rehab facility. And we had looked at a number of options, and sort of the light bulb went on in terms of the potential for developing support for resident life and quality of life enhancements at the facility through 501c3, dedicated for charitable giving to the nursing home. People generally don't like to give charitable contributions to the government, and the notion of forming a 501c3, which developed out of a specific contribution from one of the former residents of the nursing home, sort of took hold amongst a bunch of people. We looked for activists in the community who felt a strong bond to the nursing home, and to help give guidance and definition to the path that such a 501c3 could take. So they have a lot more compelling things to tell you than I do. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over to our illustrious cast today for your presentation. Maybe we could start with some introductions. Just everybody tell who you are, please. Sir.
Ann Sponsella, resident of Claremont.
Kim Jura, resident of Claremont.
Dr. Barbara Forney, my mother-in-law was a resident of Claremont.
Richard Gobin. I'm a semi-retired pharmacist.
Dita Grants Director of the Partnership for Better Health.
Sean Galco, the interim administrator at Claremont.
I'm Nancy Hahn, I'm the activities manager at Claremont, and these two gentlemen are Modest. This is our resident council president and vice president.
Thank you. And you know these guys.
Yeah, they have names.
Okay, take it away. You're the guy, I think you're supposed to start.
I'm sorry, what?
I think you're supposed to start.
You have it in printing there in front of you.
Oh, well, the background is on the screen there. It was up on running, and she was admitted and discharged from Claremont in January of 2011. In May of 2013, she passed away. In August of 2013, the county notified Claremont that it was in the will. November 2014, the orphan's court hearing. March 25th, the endowment task force was established and chaired by Lisa Spence, the Director of Nursing. Evelyn Brennan is the person that has granted us this large amount of money. She was a resident of Boiling Springs, a widow of a former Cumberland County Commissioner Earl L. Brenneman, who died in 1996. She retired after many years of service in the Pennsylvania State Capitol in the Cumberland County Courthouse, where she was a stenographer and a bookkeeper. The background is March 2015, the task force came up with ideas. April 2015, the resident council was consulted. Both groups established priorities. Suggestions were voted on. Decision was made to create an outdoor garden area between administration and Sea Wing for the residents. Everyone agreed that Claremont should grow the charitable giving program. There's plans for the preliminary plans for our garden.
I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have seen those plans. But I have a few things to say about it, and we're very grateful for the monies. We figured that this was kind of what we understood the monies were supposed to be used for. It was for the residents and their families to enjoy. So they came up with this plan for this garden, and there's walkways for everyone to walk around. There are different planting areas. They have a rock garden area. There's going to be a few trees. They have a gas grill, which has to be like reserved in advance, so because it's going to be locked up, so that someone just can't go play with it, whether it's a resident or a child or another family member. But this kind of meets the criteria of everything, because family members can go out there with a resident and enjoy themselves also. There's going to be a fountain. Like I said, the plants that were kind of recommended were ones that were in the dwarf family, so that there wouldn't be a lot of maintenance to them. But in general, we felt that for the first project, for using the monies, that this was a good project.
The background is May 2015, $215,223.60 was received. In June 2015, an additional $1,105.81 was received. To make the total received, $216,349.41. March 2016, the core group established to draft bylaws for Friends of Claremont with solicitor's assistance. The mission of the Friends of Claremont is to enhance the quality of life for residents by setting up perpetual giving programs that will augment the excellent care provided at Claremont. What? Okay.
Now, if we look at the objectives, they're stated up there, to provide a channel for any level of giving. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here a little bit on the past history, and I'd probably go back further than anyone in this room with some of the history. In 1952, my parents moved to the Carlisle area from Fulton County. In 1957, graduated from Carlisle High School. In 1960, Shippensburg. I taught for 8 years before I left teaching and went to Temple University College of Pharmacy, coming out in 1971. Prior to that, a partner and I purchased our first pharmacy in 1967. It was Braun's Pharmacy in Carlisle. The previous owner to Mr. Braun was a man by the name of Judson and Davis Pharmacists. He sold it about 15 years prior to that for a career change, and he became the first pharmacist at the old Carlisle Hospital, where he remained well into his 70s, and he retired. Judson wasn't one to sit around, and after he retired, he became the first pharmacist at Claremont. And he was on staff there for quite a number of years. In the 60s, I served under him while I was teaching also as a pharmacy tech at the hospital and at Claremont. And then as I came out of pharmacy school in 71, Judd would call me and he needed relief. And at his age, he went to more funerals than anyone I ever knew. And he was the finest gentleman I ever ran into, but he had a lot of well-heeled friends, and has stuck with me all these years. One thing, he asked me to work for him one afternoon. He came back from a service of a gentleman named Carlisle, and he said, "Dick, I went up there and looked in that there box, and there weren't none of that green stuff going with me." And that has stuck with me all those years. And I've tried to live by that. But anyway, that is a little bit of history there. And as I worked for him, back then, Claremont was known as the county poorhouse, the alms house, or just the county home. And prior to that, the individuals residing there were known as inmates. You didn't know that. And about the 50s and 60s, they became known as patients. And later, we now know them as residents. So that's a little bit of the history there. The conditions and care and practice of medicine the residents now receive are light years ahead of what they were back then. An example of what occurred there, and these physicians who tended those patients are all now deceased, so I can talk freely on that. Almost every patient who came in received a prescription, an order, and the county purchased them in little red tablet in bottles of thousands and 5,000 from Eli Lilly Company. Bottles of strychnine. Yes, strychnine. In 1/60th of a grain and 1/30th of a grain. Strychnine is a poison. And Judd and I both, he is the older pharmacist and me as the new graduate, hot shot out of college. "Doctor, why do you order this?" Well, it is a cardiac and nerve stimulant. And it did increase muscle tone. These old folks would come in and they were pretty much, very few were 60. They were mostly 50s, but some made 60. Back then, we didn't live that long. And they were gone, but it did increase their muscle tone, and they stood a little straighter and so forth. I think it shortened their life. And it's no longer available on the market, but that's a little bit of history. But the doctor's answer to it, well, it's cardiac, nerve stimulant. We use it in all the other homes. It's always been done this way, and we're not going to change it. And that was the practice of medicine 50 years ago. It's come many light years in 50 years. That's just a little history. Now that the history lesson's over, a little bit about the friends. As tax revenues get more scarce and you have to squeeze the budget more, we look at school districts, and of course the school districts get a big hunk of it, but most of the school districts are now establishing foundations for endowments for various other purposes other than just basic education, extracurricular activities and so forth. And when this money became available and they asked me for my input, I said, I think it's very important not to spend it all in one shot. We need to keep some for seed money. And something where we may have a tree for giving, to where somehow it appears there in memory, in honor of those that have lived at Claremont. And as this group got together, I think that's some of what came down the road. And in creating it, that's what we're looking at here on the Friends of Claremont. And I give Mrs. Blenman a lot of credit for being in this initiative. And whether it be a $10 gift or a $10,000 gift, all go to that fund for the benefit of those residents. And it would also help staff with various things that are needed that you're going to have a hard time fitting in the budget. I think a few other comments are in order. I don't know if you have any idea of the jewel we have in Cumberland County. Many counties have sold their home off. And when that happens, the residents suffer. The staff changes, there's less attention. That caring hug that a staff member may give, they don't have time for hugs. They just provide basic services. Well, over my years, I've served as director, consultant, and staff at 6 central Pennsylvania hospitals, over 60 extended care facilities. Claremont ranks in my top 3 in my entire career. That's what I see there. We have a gem. When I was at the Carlisle Hospital in the 80s, I think it was 3. I can only think of the names of 2 doctors. They had family members at Claremont. And I asked them about that. You have family members at Claremont with all these other nursing homes in the area? Why? Well, Dick, it's the best kept secret around. Our family and loved ones get far better care there and more attention than anywhere else in this area. And I thought in the 1980s, that said a lot. It says even more now. With that first-class facility, and of course, I see various religious denominations consolidating their homes under the conference. And it used to be those that didn't have funds would be admitted to live out their years. You try to get in these homes now with less than $150,000, $200,000, it doesn't happen. They have nowhere to go. And Claremont isn't privately owned. It isn't owned by a denomination. And I look at that as very special. And the Friends of Claremont, I look at us as here to assist in the endeavor for those residents and staff. The new rehab unit, I think, is just superb, having toured it a couple of times. And having been a patient in need of that, I'll expound on that just a wee bit. 10 years ago, I had a fall on the ice in February. Landed in the back of my head, I didn't know that fall would be so quick. It took 8 weeks to manifest itself. I had a bilateral subdural bleed, which means simply in the skull. And at that time, my son says, "You're not working anymore." The computer wouldn't do what I wanted it to do. It wasn't the computer, it was me. After many doctor's visits, misdiagnosed, 2 CAT scans, finally an MRI. The night before the MRI, I took a shower. My wife had my pajamas laying on the bed. I came out. I didn't have the foggiest idea how to get dressed. That was scary. I finally got dressed, and you have to have a sense of humor under these conditions. I walked out to the family room, and Ann said, "Richard, you have those bottoms on backwards. Now, I was already confused. Think how confused I'd have been in the middle of the night. I'd get up to go. And the bottoms are on backwards. So, that, anyway, had surgery in Harrisburg. Had to have PT afterwards, which meant to drive to East Shore. We no longer have to do that. We have it handy here. I remember being in the wheelchair down at the end of the line. Probably 20 elderly folks up here. I look up, they're all slumped over, and I'm thinking, is that what I have become? They gave me less than a 10% chance to survive the surgery, let alone not be a vegetable, which they told me I would be. And you can see the holes in my head. My friends tell me that's where they took my horns off. But anyway, as the physiotherapist worked down the line to me, I made up my mind, come hell or high water, I was getting out of that wheelchair. I was walking. She gave me a cane to get out. I handed it back. I got out. I climbed the 3 steps she told me to climb. Walked back down. Now do it again. That's fine. I did it 2 more times to prove I could do it. That's fine. You passed. Wow. Don't have to do this again. Now the occupational therapist came over. What's your name? What's your birthday? Who's the president? And a couple math problems. Simple. You passed. Having that handy, not having to drive 20 plus miles, down 81 with 18 wheelers, all that. To me, this is a blessing to those that have a need for it. You don't know how much of a blessing until it is a family member or yourself that has that. So for that, I want to say thank you. I think we can be very proud of what we have here in the Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Here to serve all the future residents. And I think it's being well maintained, well managed, well administered, and we have something here. And the objectives are right here. I won't insult anybody's intelligence, really. But as friends of Cumberland, we're here to try and support you in administering this jewel that we have, that not many other counties have. And I don't think any of them have something of the quality we have. In establishing a new foundation, it would be independent and administration, county government, and so forth. And it's for the benefit of the residents at Cumberland County Nursing and Rehab Center. We'd be looking at individuals, families, organizations, and institutions. And I would kind of envision that as possible. Well, it could be somebody come up and say, well, I'll give X amount of dollars if others out there will match such. The funds raised would be to expand the scope of services, but not operational expenses. And I think the important thing is the long tradition of compassionate quality. That's so important there. For another 100 years. I don't think any of us will be here for that, but we can see.
What makes Claremont unique? I'll just start on a personal note. In 2010, I have MS, and in 2010, I had a bad flare-up. It was almost like a stroke. I came to Claremont for 2 months. It was on the 4th floor. People took excellent care of me. And told them when I left after 2 months. And during that time, I got my speech back, the use of my left arm. I couldn't walk anymore. I couldn't use my right arm anymore. But I was taken care of very well. I told my wife, in the future, if I ever have to go anywhere, I want to go back to Claremont. So when it came time, my wife was doing everything that the girls do at Claremont, using the lift, bedpans, shower chairs, and she started having some health problems of her own. We sat down with our sons, had a discussion, and made the decision that I was going back to Claremont. I've been there now, this month, 4 years. I have very good experiences there. I believe the other residents do also. It's a very good place to be at if you have to be in that situation. I get excellent care. People, a thank you and a please goes a long way with them. They, when they have the time, like to talk. The family members of the residents seem like they really appreciate Claremont. I hear statements that we like to come in the door and there's not any odor. They're pleased with the care that their family members are getting. I've heard some family members say, I had a resident or a family member at another facility and they weren't getting the care that I thought they should get. So I brought them to Claremont. So it's good that the community is getting the knowledge to bring their loved ones there. Of course, it's not home, but it's very nice that family can come anytime they want. In my case, my wife still tries to be involved in my care. So she comes and picks me up and takes me to appointments and things like that. We have a vehicle that I can get in. She likes to do the laundry, just feel that she's participating. And those are not problems with Claremont at all. I think the nursing staff is one of the best. From what I've seen with the residents, I believe that the majority of them that I know of are very satisfied and they're very glad that they're there and not someplace else. And that's kind of my outlook, and I think it's an outlook of a number of the other residents.
I may be able to expand a little bit on that. It's still semi-practicing. I do not hear the horror stories coming from Clermont that I hear from other facilities where a loved one may wait 2-3 days for that antibiotic that was ordered 2-3 days ago for that infection.
That's what you hear.
And I just look at that as a real plus out there from the things I hear from other facilities.
manager's part.
Well, and another big plus there is also the activities. They have plenty of activities. They take people out to dinners, they take the veterans especially, they take us to all kinds of luncheons, riverboat cruises during the summer. So the activities there are far and beyond any other home that I've ever heard of. There's plenty for the people to do during the day, in the evenings. So that's another big plus that we have.
My mother-in-law, Mary Catherine Nader, better known as Kate, was a resident at Claremont. And my husband, her son, initially wanted me to make sure that you hear that when he went in there, that the administration and the admissions people were just so helpful and so kind because this was a new experience for him to have to bring his mother to a facility like Claremont. Well, Kate spent her last 3 years at Claremont as a resident. And we believe that those years were a gift, because if she would not have been at Claremont, she would not have lived that long. The facility is administered in an outstanding manner from top to bottom. There's no odor, and it is well maintained. It's clean and very impressive. And my mother-in-law's sons did not have to worry about her anymore because her care was extremely conscientious by a very courteous staff. Yes, she missed her home, but she thrived under the care of Carol Brown, her nurse, many other staff members, and Carol Elkington, a social worker. And they were always available either by email or phone in contact anytime Dave felt he needed to clarify something or check on something. And the nice thing also, once she became so immobile that she could no longer get out of her with her walker or her wheelchair and into the car, Claremont would take her to her doctor's appointments or dental appointments, and Dave would meet them there, and he could be a part of the whole situation and help her. She had macular degeneration, and she became nearly blind. She had hearing problems, and she had dental problems. She loved to go play bingo. She loved to go to the programs. And after a while, she could no longer see the numbers, but somebody who was staff or another resident would go with her and play her numbers for her so that she didn't miss out on some of the wonderful programs that they have. The dining room staff made sure that her birthdays were very memorable, singing happy birthday and serving her cake. I have a good comparison to make because my mother, who lived to be 99 and a half, was in another facility here in Carlisle, and her care was diminished by comparison. I had an aunt who was in another facility, and again, it shall remain nameless. It was not odor-free, and her care was not nearly as good. The addition of the rehab portion is a first-class facility, and the fact that it's a 24/7 facility, it makes it head and shoulders above anything else in the area. Claremont Claremont is definitely a gem for Cumberland County and its residents. And it's something we can be so glad that we have.
Foundation that I work for, Health Foundation, our mission is to keep people as healthy as possible and to keep this community healthy. Inevitably, illness is going to occur, and we are so fortunate here in Cumberland County to have Claremont to provide the services that are needed for all people. And we know Claremont is open to everyone. You can tell by the stories here, it's not just they're doing the cursory care, it's top-notch care. And we want to keep that quality going. So we're really here today with all that background to formally ask you for approval from you as the county commissioners to establish this charitable giving program, which we're calling the Friends of Claremont. In this way, this would be established as a 501c3 through the IRS. And this way, tax-deductible donations can be made. And just, again, an experience from the Partnership for Better Health. Years ago, for some project, some staff members from Claremont approached us, and we said, well, we cannot, you don't have a 501c3, we cannot make, that's our policy, we cannot make a donation or a grant. So there's some funding possibilities that you can't be eligible for by not having this 501c3. So I think for many reasons, it would be an excellent idea to establish this Friends of Claremont. If we get permission to do that, our next steps are to gather again and to identify interested individuals that would serve on the board, and those would be brought to you, and I think you would be appointing some individuals as well. And then we go on to establish a strategic giving plan and see how we can enhance the efforts. So that's the formal ask to you today.
And just FYI, the bylaws were drafted by our solicitor, Holland, revised after discussions between Keith and what we call the core, which are the individuals here.
No, this is fine. I'm surprised that we have that for great approval.
Well, it's for Keith, it's required.
Okay.
Then we get out of the way and let this time while we're here. I mean, I think that's to me the fascinating point. There are people in the community who want to support it. This isn't something the county does because maybe no one else is willing to do it. We have people here who've taken the initiative and willing to put in the work for what they believe to be a worthwhile endeavor. And we just basically have to give a lesson, let it go.
I just like to first of all just say that I'm 100% supportive of what you're doing, and I was personally touched by all of your stories in support of Claremont today. I think Dick is right. Is right. We have a jewel, we have a gem. What this is about is essentially try and provide for enhancement of everything that we have, as I mentioned at the beginning, everything we have at Claremont. I guess that I was just looking at the photograph of the late Evelyn Brennan. We really owe her a debt of gratitude because she kind of like got this ball rolling, and although she's gone, I think it's worth remembering. If I follow here, she passed at the age of 98. I was looking at her photograph, and I was, and then your stories, and I always think back because I lost my mom 7 years ago, and she was in a nursing home down in Lancaster County. I'm not going to mention it. It was a good facility. It was all right. And I thought she received decent care. But I'll tell you, I didn't get an opportunity to visit Claremont until 2011 when I was running for county commissioner for the first time. And when I walked in the door, the difference is that you didn't notice anything when you walked in the door. And that was not the case when my mom And then I had an opportunity to meet with and talk to some of the residents, but most importantly, the members of their families, who, to a person, essentially had the same kind of testimonials that you've made today. And a lot of the gratitude for that goes to the staff, dedicated employees that we have at Cumberland, because they really make it work. But if I had known about Claremont, I would have tried to move my mother up here. But in any event, thank you for stepping forward and being willing to lead this effort. And I can assure you that as one commissioner, I'm going to do everything I can to try to maintain the viability of what is an excellent nursing home in Claremont.
Gary, anything?
This looks very good. I think that it makes perfect sense for us to do this. It's no secret that our facility is financially challenged, and any additional dollars that this is able to raise certainly go to enhancements in quality of life, which is one of the things that makes Cumberland attractive. So I would see, I don't have any specific questions other than ones that will most likely be answered through your next steps when you convene your group. Types of enhancements and vision further out, something that interests me a great deal, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So, first step obviously is to get the organization in place and up and running, and an opportunity to do that, and very supportive of it.
Same here, folks. I appreciate you coming in. Everything you said here makes sense. And to put together a nonprofit group takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. I know you will do it unless you're dedicated to do so. Larry, we can get this on our agenda for next week.
For the, we have one workshop tomorrow.
Right.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, very good. So this will come up then for our consideration. I can't give you the date, July,
Before the end.
before the end of June. And based on the comments here, we'll see the issues.
Okay.
Thanks so much for taking the time to be here.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.